All right, everyone. So we will get going now. Welcome to Think Data Thursday, Tableau Potpourri with Pooja and Shawn. I'm Diego Medrano, a community support engineer. I also have Pooja and Shawn joining as our presenters. The rest of the community team is here to help out as well, probably faces that you recognize from our forums. So before we get started, as usual, we have a couple of housekeeping notes. Right now you should be able to see all of the attendees. Looks like we still have people who are trickling in, so this number will likely grow, but through there you can see everyone, as well as our panelists. In the chat dialog box, there's a little section that says Send To. If you scroll down to All Participants, that's how we keep an open discussion amongst everyone. And when you send a chat, please bear in mind that you will be labeled as the sender, and everybody can see your chat unless it's a private message. And anybody else can also respond to the chat. So if somebody asks a question and you know the answer, please feel free to chime in. Currently, you're all set to the mute position, and you'll notice above the chat section and below the participant section, there's a little hand icon. If you click on this will let me know that you have a comment that hasn't been addressed. I'll likely ping you. We'll talk about it. And then if we have some time during our Q&A section, we can get you unmuted and you can ask your question. If you'd like to make a comment for the whole group to hear, just go ahead and send a direct chat to host and presenter or all panelists, and we can make sure that we get your question heard. At the end of our presentation, we're going to leave a few moments for Q&A, so let's try to hold off questions until then, but just use your discretion. And also you can try and get your questions asked through our chat. Now let's go ahead and introduce our presenters. First up, we have Pooja Gandhi. And Pooja is a native, let me go ahead and show you what she looks like. Pooja is a native of India and a chemical engineer who converted to being a data rock star in the last 2 years. Her love for Tableau has made her realize her true passion and loves using it to answer business questions instantly. As a BI analyst at Turning Technologies in Youngstown, Ohio, her job is divided in 2 functional areas. As an extension to their product team, she assists with internal analytics requests to help drive product development decisions, and as an extension of their strategy team on site, she assists with building sales financial models by tying finance/budget data to product usage to show where their business stands. And that's not it. Pooja loves to take Tableau home to work on her personal data projects. She's actively involved in #MakeOverMonday and enjoys using Tableau to push her creative limits. She loves travel, music, and is a major foodie. And I can also say that from the community perspective, we are extremely lucky to have her, and she was recently recognized as a Tableau Zen Master, so big congratulations for that. Next up, we have Shawn Wallwork. Shawn owns Remote Tableau Consulting, a firm that serves customers all over the world, ranging from London to Melbourne and many points in between. He has been using Tableau for 5+ years and has been Tableau Zen Master for 3 of those years. He's a wonderful source of knowledge in our community and, as I'm sure many of you know, always ready and willing to step up and handle difficult questions. So with that, looks like we're ready to get this presentation rolling. So Pooja, I'm going to pass the presentation controls over to you.
All right, can you see my screen, Diego?
We can.
Can you hear me, right?
Yeah, sounds great.
Fantastic. All right, thanks for joining, everybody. I do see some familiar names, so hello, everyone, who I know and who I don't know. So I'm just going to start off basically with a simple line chart. There are a bunch of things that I want to show, so I'm pretty much going to speed talk through it all and leave questions at the end. So the basic line chart that I'm talking about here is a continuous line chart from our very own Superstore data. We all love Superstore data, don't we? So this line chart is great to visualize trend in your data over different intervals of time. But sometimes what I find is difficult from a continuous line chart is to draw discrete information from, meaning how many months had a profit value below 20,000, or how many months had a profit value above 30,000, for example. And sure, there are a number of ways you can do it. You can do it with reference lines with parameters, or by calling sheets on a dashboard using action filters. One way that I like to do it is to have constant reference bands, and not just one, but multiple. And I think this does a few things. We're using dual axis here to tie the names of the months on to the view itself. So it eliminates the need to have axis labels, both on X and Y axis. Also, it eliminates the need to have tooltips because you don't individually have to hover over every single data point to see what value they correspond to. It's pretty clear from the viz itself. This also eliminates the need to have tooltips. And so it makes for a great device-specific dashboard worksheet because it eliminates a lot of clutter from the view. So to create a constant reference band, it's pretty easy basically. You just right-click the axis and add a reference line. You select a band and change it to constant. And because we already have the 45,000 here, I'm just going to make it from 45,000. Change that to none because we already have a 45,000 value mentioned there. And 55,000. And we'll give it a nice little color. And that's it. So from here, you can pretty much format that to the same value that we have on the other. And change that. So this looks great, right? We already have another band. But what you see is you see two different numbers here. So if you right-click and remove this value, both of those get removed. So to get over that, you're basically going to change the alignment here to just left. And now you have that. So this is a pretty easy way to see, like I said, different months into the band. And the visual color blocking gives a really nice idea to your users as to where and which band each different month fall under. Also, if you want to get a little fancier, you can drop the color calculation that I have actually pre-calculated onto the bubbles. So you easily get to see, okay, it's not very convenient to see it here, but you get the point. I'm basically just using a if-then calculation that follows the same constant reference band ranges and try to follow the same color scheme as well, so I can change that at a later point. And then if you just drag your order date up to filter, you can easily change and see. I don't know what that did actually. Never mind about that actually. And you can also create a highlighter feature here to see where each different months stand in. So that's one. So while we're still talking about dual axis, I'll talk about how to use dual axis on shapes. So here is a dashboard that I created for Makeover Monday requirement that's describing Steph Curry shots. And the way you see here is that it looks pretty cluttered here with a lot of things going on. I've turned off the action filters so that it doesn't hinder what I'm trying to show. But the logos of the teams look pretty messy, I feel, and I realized that after actually submitting that. So one way to get that changed and give it some structure is to basically use dual axis. And I like to use that with the number of records field. You basically duplicate that. So now you see two logos for each. Turn off the header and change the first axis to something like a square. And then you're going to make it as a dual axis. So now you see it instantly gives a nice structure to your dashboard. It's not cluttered anymore. So that's one way to use dual axis with shapes. All right. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is how to use dual axis basically on a single view and have it given that disguised look of using two different mark types. So if you see a line chart here is giving a yearly view, yearly aggregated view, and a bar chart is giving a lower granularity view on the same sheet. It's not a different sheet anymore. So to do that, it's pretty easy. You basically create two different calculations. One with when you have a selection of bar, you basically say that when the parameter selection is bar, you give me the sum of sales value. Same thing when you have line sales. You basically say that case the parameter, when it's a line selection, you give me a sales value again. And then the date name column that I have on there on columns is basically just using a different granularity of my date pill. So when it is a line, I want a yearly aggregated value, and when it's a bar, I'm just going to look for the first 3 characters of the month, which you see when I select a bar. So this is a pretty good and easy method to use the same view and not have different views cluttered on a dashboard. It makes implementation and maintenance of that data really easy. And when it's also a bar, you can drag the year column to see it at a yearly level. And you can also drag that on color to kind of identify which year they all fall under. And you can also drag the date name column and use the highlighter feature again, if you would like to see how each different year does for different months. So that's one way to do that. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is basically showing how to show and hide annotations on a single view. And I think this is pretty helpful for those new device-specific dashboards that we have. Sometimes when you have a lot of labels, it can get pretty cluttered. So this is a good way to hide annotations and just show labels, or show annotations when you actually have show selected. So to do this, again, we're going to be using a dual axis approach. When it's a hide calculation, when I'm using a hide action into my parameter, it's going to give me a sum of sales pill. And when I'm using show, it's going to give me a duplicated version of the sales bill. So that basically works like this. So you basically have sales bill, and then you have a sales copy bill. So this basically creates 2 different marks card on your view. You can individually format them however you like them. And then when you set that to a dual axis, you get 2 different. But you'll also have to remember, though, when you actually create a dual axis, that's when you're going to want to have the annotation selected. So if I have show selected, and if I right-click and annotate the mark, it's going to annotate that for me. And then when I hide it, it's going to go away. So annotations on marks basically works when that specific mark is present in the view, not otherwise. Which is why when you have hide selected, the show calculation is basically disappearing because it's nulling it out. And when it is show, you actually get to see the annotations. All right. So while we're still talking about annotations, let's talk about how to use annotations on hover. And this, I don't know about you, but I've always wanted annotations on hover, how we have highlight labels. But unfortunately, we don't have that at the moment in Tableau. So the way this works is basically it's using action filters and using the similar approach of not having a mark, of having a mark when you actually select 2012 and not having other years when you select 2012. So the annotation appears when you have a specific year selected in the filter. And then when you have 2013 selected, and so on. So to create this is also pretty easy again. When you have action filter selected, you see the action pill in filters. You basically right-click and show filter. When you have that filter selected here, you can pretty much navigate through different options and basically annotate away. So as an example, this is just annotating at 2012. So now, when you hover over 2012, you see that annotation. So again, you can change the hover to select for those device-specific dashboards because you cannot really hover effectively on a mobile phone. So this can also work well for that need. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is, so you know how many of us have a footer in the bottom of our worksheets. And sometimes the text boxes that we use can be by itself. We don't really use the logo of Twitter or the blog or any different text that you basically have on your view. So this method works really great. So if you see here, this image is a single image. It's not 2 different images. But when you hover over it, you see different URLs. And the reason is because I've overlaid empty images over the individual components of that image. So this really works nice. Basically, all you do is you take a snapshot of any white document, like a Word document or anything of that sort, and make it transparent using PowerPoint or any other photo manipulation tools that you might have access to, and basically just overlay that, and then you can easily set URL. So that works really nice. So if you drag this to, say, for example, my Twitter name, and you can see that I can instantly see the thumbnail. So you can, it's pretty easy to set that. So a great example for that was this dashboard that I created for Makeover Monday metadata a few months ago. And I realized that I wanted to use both Andy Kriebel and Andy Codgreaves pictures on the dashboard because I wanted the users to connect to their blogs. And then I realized that, okay, so Andy Codgreaves' shirt color was bleeding into my dashboard color. And for those of you that know me, you know I love black dashboards, so I wasn't willing to change the color of my dashboard. And I thought I should create a barrier between their pictures and my dashboard color. So the way I did that was basically using the same technique that I talked about earlier by laying shapes using a dual axis approach onto a green circle. And then I was like, all right, so I'm all set. I brought the two worksheets in, and I was like, let me just go ahead and set the URL without actually realizing that it's not images anymore, it's a worksheet. And that's when I thought about adding a transparent image over there. If you see, this is a worksheet. And if you overlay a transparent image, you basically set URL, and it guides the users to their respective blogs. So this might be a handy method for those that you have the text or you have worksheets, or you can let your users connect to an external data source using pretty much anything on the dashboard, a mark, city on a map, bar, anything. So that's a handy little method there. All right, so the next thing is active zone layering. This is probably one of my favorite techniques that I learned at TC15. So I thought this might be worthwhile to show to those especially who did not get a chance to see this at TC15. This works pretty nice. So what this is doing basically is when you select a member of a parameter, it highlights a view that's being selected. So this is pretty effective, especially if you're on a WebEx like how we are right now. So you don't constantly have to hover over individual charts to kind of show or make a point to your users. It pretty much just highlights the view for them. So how we're going to do this is basically, as you see, there are 3 views onto this, but there are 6 sheets onto the dashboard. And the reason is because whatever is being highlighted is actually another sheet. It's not a border. So the way to do that would be to create 3 different calculations basically for each different member of your parameter. And here I'm just saying that when a category is furniture, then active, otherwise nothing. So it's going to give me a null value here. So when you see furniture, I would pretty much I would place that calculated field on color. You can double click that and change the color to your preference. You'll also want to remember to change the member of your parameter to see the null value, because you'll want to make sure that that color basically ties in with the color of your dashboard, so it doesn't really highlight anything or you don't get any extra colors on it. And you basically repeat that for all different members. I know this is a little prep work, but the end result is pretty effective. And I guess that covers it all. That pretty much is what I wanted to talk about. If you have any questions, I'll take it at the end of the session. But if not, you can also reach out to me via a number of ways listed here, either via Twitter or thedataduo.com. You can get in touch with me via the Contact Us forum. It's a blog series that I run with the very talented Adam Crahan. Or find me on my email, or just, you know where to find me on the forums. So that's all I had to talk about today.
Sorry about that. My mic was muted. But thank you so much for sharing. That was great. We did have one quick question from Shinichiro, who said, can't we use a blank instead of a transparent picture? For the, if going back to, I believe, your 3rd tip that you shared with the blank boxes right before this.
Which one? Was that the image that I showed?
Yeah, with the male-female image and then the URLs over that.
That's basically what I mean, actually. It's an empty, transparent box. So I think it's because it's white, you don't see that. But blank would basically, I think it's just a different terminology. But yeah, that's what I mean. It would pretty much be a blank.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So with that, yeah, we'll see what we have afterwards. But let's go ahead and switch over to Shawn. Thank you so much, Pooja.
Thank you.
I share too. Can you see me now?
Yep, there we go.
Okay, great. So anyway, I'm only going to go over a few things. One of them is my favorite new discovery. 4 clicks to find version control. If you are a consultant, as I am, or a answerer on the forums, you know that we get a lot of workbooks that you have no clue as to which version to open them in. I have many versions installed on my computer, and it was trial and error for a while. And then I decided I really needed to come up with another version or some other way of doing this. And what I discovered was the 7-zip, which I've always had around, could actually do this in just 4 clicks. So the first thing you need to do is install 7-zip or a similar utility, zip utility. Of course, I'm assuming that you all know that a TWBX, a packaged workbook, is actually just a zip file. And so when you do install the zip, 7-zip, make it your default and let it know that it can, I think it does it automatically, but you might have to let it know that a TWBX can be opened with 7-zip. So let's see. And to do this, then let's go here. And so to do it with the 4 clicks, we'll go into this very old Breaking Bad workbook that I did, and we go to 7-zip, and we see it has a really convenient thing where you can open the archive. You don't have to extract it. You can just simply open it, and then it'll show you the zip within it, what's in there. And by the way, that's how Tableau is able to collect up all your data, all your images, and anything else you have in the workbook and be able to send it to somebody else. And Tableau then knows where to find all the different files. But to find the version, you just right-click, and then again, this is 7-zip. You can say View, and somewhere near the top, different versions have it further down, but basically somewhere near the top you find the version number, and you know what workbook or what version of Tableau to open it in. That this one discovery has kept me from harping on and on in the forums like I tend to do about, please tell us what version number you have. Now I can find it so fairly quickly. Hope that helps. By the way, let's see. Jonathan, when I showed Jonathan this trick, he liked it so much he wrote a whole entire blog about it. If you don't know Jonathan, he's a Zen master, and his blogs are long, informative, and if you don't have him bookmarked, you really should. Drawing with numbers, getting the version out of Tableau. He also went ahead and did the research because he uses a Mac to figure out how to do it in a Mac. So if you'll go to that link there, you'll be able to do it if you're like Pooja looks to be on a Mac. Let's see. The other favorite utility that I have is Notepad++. It'll open any Tableau TWB. A TWB is just an XML file, basically. And there's many different things that are in here that you can hack. Now remember, that's hacking, okay? Which means that if you do change anything in the XML within the TWB, Tableau support will never talk to you again. No, it's not quite it's not quite that bad, but they won't support that particular workbook if you have troubles with it. And the reason I'm saying this is because I'm about to show you a hack. Let's see, hacking. I think this is the one I want. And so in the mobile world, I've discovered that for my money, it's better to be able to stack sheets on top of each other because people are really very interested in, or mostly swiping. And so, I mean, this isn't really a very great example, but I did for a client, I did a, well, obviously with secure data, so I can't show it to you, but we did a whole thing where we stacked a bunch of sheets on top of each other. You'll notice the first two sheets I've sized them so that I don't have to have scroll bars. Scroll bars in mobile devices, not so good. They can be a little tricky to work with. And as you can see from this, we do have a scroll bar on this last thing where I did it with city. Okay, so that's, and the maximum size for a default size for Tableau, you can go anywhere like, 39, 38, but once you get to 4,000, I contend is an arbitrary number and should be higher, but I haven't won that battle yet with all of the devs. I've also created here a dashboard that we're going to then go ahead and go in here and hack. So let me go ahead and close this. And I'm going to then go in and open Notepad++. Starting at the very top, I'll go in and do a find. And I've already got it in here, but dashboard's what I'm looking for. Go ahead and search down, find the next one. And they all turn out to be the first dashboards that comes up. So you've got the two dashboards here, the dashboard 999. And we have the default max size. You can come in here and change this to 9999. I haven't experimented with 5 digits because I suspect it may not work. Certainly it's not going to, Tableau isn't going to show it because they only have 4 digits in their software. So then if we go ahead and save this, and we close Notepad. Did I get them both right? Yeah, I think I did. And then we open up Notepad again, or open up the workbook again. And we go over to dashboard 999. There you go. In 10.0, it actually shows you the size up here in the custom size. It still only lets you go to 4,000, but I don't care. It still is a thing where we have many. We've got the full 999 size height. Okay, and one of those more unhelpful things that Tableau does is it decided that instead of just adding pixels, that it actually was going to distribute my view throughout my objects throughout the added instead of just adding pixels to the bottom. Again, this is a argument I haven't yet won. We wish they would at least give us the option to treat it as a canvas and leave everything where it is and just add pixels to the bottom, but they haven't done that yet. So they also make things bigger. So it takes a while to resize everything. So rather than doing all that work while you guys watch me stumble around with bad clicking, here's the final version. And so I've got my 999 dashboard, and I guess I didn't finish it. Anyway, let's see. Anyway, I'm not going to waste your time watching me, but we would be able to eventually get it to where we have everything. We can get more sheets on a mobile device. I always then start out at 999 for all of my mobile stuff, because then what I can do is I can put 4 or 5 sheets on the dashboard and size them to the correct size, and then I'll put a little text message end of dashboard at the end of it. Then when my client comes in and says, hey, how about if we also do, percent of profit too? So I need another worksheet. Now I can add the worksheet to the bottom, move my little sign that says end of dashboard down a little bit, and I haven't had to resize every single sheet on the dashboard simply because I added more pixels. So for mobile work, I just start out with 999. So all of my mobile work dashboards are hacked. Let's see. I think that. Let's go ahead and close some of this stuff up. No. And no. Okay. So now the next little bit I'm going to show is to do with, I guess I should go to my PowerPoint. To do with, that was the overriding dashboard size. By the way, do heed the warning. This is a hack. Tableau support will not support it. And then the last section I'm doing is creating custom geographies. A lot of you know I really do enjoy maps. And so let's get to that. Let's start out with a simple. And this is new in 10.0. So you folks that are still stuck in 9.0 world, really, to use this, you need to move up. So here's my home state. It's the Albuquerque Santa Fe DMA. The whole map, with the exception of there are a few here that we need to Control-click, select, and go ahead and exclude. So that's the actual Albuquerque Santa Fe DMA that as Nielsen defines it. Nielsen defines DMAs by county. That's the DMA stands for Designated Market Area. If any of you are in advertising, you'll understand. So let's start combining some things. Well, let's go ahead and combine the target. Control-click the different ones, and then click and come down here and say, I want to group these. I'm going to group these by county state. Okay, and you think, oh, well, nothing happened. Well, yeah, you're right, it didn't happen. But you can see from the color is that you do have something here, and then you have others. So let's go ahead and exclude others. And now we only have others. We'll go ahead and select all those guys, right-click. And this time it's not going to give you a choice. It's going to assume that you're wanting to add it to the county-state group. Let's go ahead and pull this off of there. And you're still saying, hey, wait a minute, it's still the same. The last little trick that you have to do is you'll notice that county-state is on the county-state groups that we just created is on the color shelf, but we do have to take county out of the viz, and then at that point is when you have your single selectable areas, custom shape that you just made. You can go ahead and put, let's say you can go ahead and alias your names for this, and this is, let's see, this is DMA outside target, and this one is target. Didn't spell it right, but that's okay. I'm not going to go back. And then we can take this guy, put it on labels, and you've got your two different deals. And so you can see if you only are targeting these counties and you buy the entire DMA, you've got quite a bit of waste. So anyway, that's the basic introduction to how you make custom shapes. It uses anything that Tableau recognizes that as a geography. And so we can do, let's go here. So in this case, we've got some zip codes, and I've done a dual axis. And I've put them over counties. So here's the zip code, and then here's the counties. So you get the 2 marks card like you usually do. As Pooja shows you a whole bunch of dual axis stuff. This particular project was kind of interesting. It started out with a TV DMA with all of the stuff, and then the question became, here's the radio DMA of her customers, the ones that have data for them, and she wanted to know, who am I cutting out if I only buy the radio DMA, the radio market? I shouldn't say DMA, the radio market, instead of buying the whole DMA. And so she found out that she actually cuts out 4 different customers: Ajax Cleaner, Comet, Global, and Tableau Cleaners. Didn't know they were in the cleaner business, did you? So now you've got kind of a mess, sort of, in the way of, are you going to really go here and click all these? No, of course not. You're just going to come in here and you're going to select everything. You are selecting the county as well, but as you see, you're going to be given a choice. And instead of doing all dimensions, I'm going to say we're doing this by zip code. And so once you click outside, I'll just show you on the next one. It's more obvious. So there's all your counties and things. Even if you select the counties, it doesn't matter. You just go ahead and group, and you'll see that it groups just the zip codes. And then we do the next one, and group. And then last but not least, we'll do this one. Oops. Group, and then let's go back to all. So you have all of these there. Now you're still seeing the borders, like we said. All you have to do is use the zip code group and get the zip code out of it. It'll turn away just to totally recalculate recalculate the shapefile. So it's looking for the outside edges, which can take a little while. And let's go ahead and exclude other. And that gives us our 4 shapes. But you notice that your color legend's pretty well messed up. That's mainly because to make my counties be just outside shapes, so that it was easier to see, the shapes of the zip codes, we had set color transparency to 0 and just turned on the border. And so that's what this is all about. And so as soon as we take color group off of there, your colors will come back in. And let's see, we've got all of those guys. And then instead of having, I guess the county names, I don't know. We'll take the county name out of here. Or maybe we'll just turn off the label. So we don't want to show those labels. And then we come down here and we simply take these groups, put them on label. Oops, I forgot to do the aliasing. So let's go ahead and highlight that. We know that is Ajax, I think. No, I know, I remember. Okay, here's what we do. Go to Ajax, and then we alias Ajax. So it's Ajax Cleaners. And that will become the label. Same thing with Comet Cleaners. That's not what I want. Edit alias, Comet. I promise I won't do all of these. You get the concept. And when we go back to all, your labels, Ajax Cleaners, Comet Cleaners, and then you could turn on and off your county names. One of the things this shows her is that, her being my wife, is that this particular cleaner has customers in 4 different counties, and all of the counties are outside the well, 4, 3, and all of the counties are outside the DMA. And so if she buys the radio market, she's not going to have advertising for these 4 cleaners. So she'll then balance it out by buying something else more online for them, or whatever whatever the marketing plan calls for. Let's see. That's it for me. Thanks for being here, and thanks for listening.
That was awesome. We can get right into the Q&A with a question that's related. We had Bruce ask, how did you get your shape files from your DMA into Tableau?
They aren't actually in there. This is just the New York counties that make up the DMA for New York. So I haven't actually gone ahead and created a DMA for this. I suppose I could, but that wasn't really the need. So we just filtered to the New York DMA in the database, and then went from there.
Cool, awesome. So if you want, I can take presenter controls back, and we can get through the few questions that we have.
Great.
Thanks a lot, Shawn.
Yeah, sure.
There we go. All right, and so it looks like we have Toby has a question. Still seeing that question mark. Is that the case?
What's Toby's question?
Let's see. He's not muted, so I believe he should be able to speak. Oh, all right. Well, I'm not seeing one there. And then Bruce, I believe we got to his question. Let's see if he has another question on top of that. Let's see.
Let me go ahead and expand on what I think he's trying to get at. He's trying to get at, how do I build a DMA? How do I build a DMA map? And the way you do that is you go and find a source that has all the states, all the counties that make up all the DMAs. And that's harder to do than you think. I think I might have a semi-clean one. But we're not, when we do custom shapes, like I just showed you how to do new in 10.0, we're doing them on the fly. We could, instead of me taking zip codes and combining them together, I could have taken all of the DMAs for the New York DMA and combined them all together in a single shape, and then combined all of the ones and go through the 250 some, I think, different DMAs. I just haven't taken the time to do that yet. But the concept is all you need is the name of the DMA, the counties that are in that DMA, because that's what Nielsen uses, and the state. And then if you have that, you'll be able to build your own DMA map simply by changing the DMA name, then doing like I did, which is select all those counties, and then go ahead and name it and group it. And then you do them all, and then you'll have them all in one big group, and then that's when you can take the county off of the viz, and you'll have all your DMA shapes on the fly.
Awesome. Yeah, so it looks like that's actually all we have for questions. So as usual, we can keep this conversation going on afterwards on the forums. Feel free to post and ask Pooja and Shawn questions. The presentation will be up later today, so look out for it on, we'll make announcements on Twitter and on the forums when it's ready, and you can feel free to watch it again, share it with friends. So I just want to thank both Shawn and Pooja again for helping us out here today, and just for a really awesome presentation. That was super interesting.
Oh, and one more thing, actually. Can you hear me, Diego?
Yep.
All right, so I will actually even post my workbook on Tableau Public if anybody wants to see it at a later point. And I also do a follow-up blog post on all the tips that I gave today, because I know I really went fast. So if anybody finds that helpful.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, last little point. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, or ideas for future Think Data Thursday events, email community@tableau.com, and we can go ahead and start that conversation. So happy Thursday, everyone, and thanks again to our presenters and to everyone who attended.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Shawn.